Chapter 47. The Gauntlet. March took the stairs 2 at a time. The apartments were all lofts and double height, and the climb wound around and around. By the time he got to the 7th floor, he was winded. There were only 2 apartments on that floor. He headed toward PHA. The door to PHB flung open. A woman stuck her head out. Her glasses were pushed on top of her head. She carried a newspaper and a cup of coffee and a small gray dog. "Caught you!" she cried. March's heart seemed to stop. Everything Alfie had taught him flew out of his head. Had his dad taught him what to say if he got caught by a middle-aged woman holding a crossword puzzle? "You're not the cable guy," she said suspiciously. He swallowed. "I'm visiting my dad." "Ah, my mysterious neighbor," she said, wishing for his father's easy charm. How many times had he seen Alfie disarm suspicion with a smile? March smiled. Obviously, Jules had inherited the smile. The woman was less than charmed. She frowned. "Never seen you before." "I live with my mom, uptown." He leaned in. "She hates my dad." "Ha! I hate my ex, too. Your dad probably is a jerk, kid. You ever walk dogs? I'll pay you." This woman kissed the dog's nose. "This is Ketsie, and I'm Martha Dermott. I'm at Henneberry, and no." "You know what's going on with the cable?" "No clue. Listen, I heard your dad go out a few minutes ago." March started to walk backward. "Well, I'll just wait then. I have a key." He fished in his pocket, stalling. "Good to meet you, Mrs. Dermott." "Call me Martha, hun." "Martha, hun." "Go away." "Ha!" She leaned against the doorframe and took a sip of coffee. "I like you." He came out with the key on the I Love New York keychain. He went toward the knob, fumbling, waiting for her to close the door. He put the key against the lock, and it slid in, and the doorknob turned, and the door opened. March blinked away his surprise. He had hoped the key might work, but somehow he hadn't expected it to. That's why they'd sent Jules in through the terrace. He waved at Martha Hun and closed the door behind him. Jules stood in the hall, waiting in the hall. "The key worked? That means that Alfie really did lead me here. He meant for me to find it." He looked down at the key. "But I never saw any of this hideout before." His mouth wobbled as though her mouth wobbled as though she were trying not to cry. "It's not a hideout. Follow me." Chapter 48. Home. Fully stocked. Cereal, pretzels, macadamia nuts, licorice. Jules picked up the jar of nuts. "I love these." Freezer with ice cream, waffles, popsicles, ravioli, frozen peas. "Ravioli is my favorite," March said. "Mine too." Pantry with Italian fruit sodas. "I love grapefruit soda," Jules said. "Do you see? It's not Alfie's bolt hole. It's a home. For us." March opened the refrigerator. Not much. A half-full take-out container, protein drinks, and 1 bottle of champagne with enameled flowers on the bottle. "That's Blue's favorite champagne," Jules said. "Was she supposed to live here too?" "He wouldn't want to take her from you," March said, shrugging. "Come and see our rooms." The bedrooms were down a spiral staircase. One bedroom with books on world history, mysteries, and fantasies. March's room. One bedroom with drawing pads and pencils and a turntable and a stack of old records from the 1980s. Jules flipped through the records. "Sue and the Banshees? I can't believe it. And the Smiths? How did he know?" "He paid attention," March said. "He promised us a home, and he really did it." "He really did." Jules shook her head in disbelief. "It's almost like he's here, isn't it? He chose everything." She put her hand on a wooden hairbrush. "And everything is perfect." "Where did he come up with all the dough?" March asked. We already knew the answer. He'd been pulling a lot of jobs the past 2 years. He'd disappear for days. Once he was gone for 2 weeks, and we were living thin. That's what Alfie called it when we didn't have cash. A temporary period of living thin, he'd say. Jules sat on the edge of the bed. "To see all of this, to imagine what could have happened, we could have lived here with our dad. It hurts, and it makes me mad." She punched a lilac pillow. "This is my favorite color." "We never had anything like this. Mostly I had a bunch of rented flats, hotel rooms." "But you spent day after day, month after month, year after year, with him. How many breakfasts, lunch, and dinners is that?" "I didn't count." March spoke carefully. Her sudden anger was like a light switch, illuminating the pain in her eyes. "When you've got a dad, you don't have to. Did he buy you t-shirts and sneakers? Did he take your temperature when you were sick? Did he tell you he was proud of you? Did he make you laugh?" "Yeah," March said. He met Jules' anger with as much gentleness as he had. "He did all of those things." She crossed her arms and swung one leg hard. Good for you, then. Look around. He wanted those things for you, too. I get that, but it just makes me feel worse. Why didn't he tell us about each other? Why couldn't we have faced it together? He wanted to protect us. I think that after our birthdays, he would have found a way to get us here. He probably would have made it a huge surprise, bought a red convertible and filled it with balloons, drove us here after a swanky lunch. Jules gave a reluctant smile. I haven't let myself remember the good stuff. He was fun. Once when I was 5, he came to Paris and took me out for ice cream. For breakfast. The best shop in Paris. He knew the owner, and the shop was open just for me. Then he played the accordion, only he was so awful. I was laughing so hard. She started to laugh, and then suddenly she was crying. March picked up her hand and squeezed it. I just wished he'd told me. I just wished I'd known, she cried harder, sobbing. It's not fair. It's not fair that he's dead either, March said. We should have been here with him. We should have lived this future. Oscar stole it. He's still stealing it. She scrubbed her face with her fists. We're going to get him. We sure are. They jumped when they heard a short knock at the door. Relax, it's Izzy, Jules said. Oscar wouldn't knock. They ran up the stairs and looked through the peephole. Izzy was outside, shifting her feet nervously. Dog food and root beer make excellent vomit, Izzy said, as she hurried inside. Unbelievably gross. He went for a mop and disinfectant. Did you find the stones? March exchanged a guilty glance with Jules. Not yet. Ready to check out his digital profile? That's what I'm here for. They crossed to the master bedroom, Alfie's bedroom. Oscar made himself at home. Shopping bags were tossed in a corner. Inside the closet was a new wardrobe of designer clothes with shocking price tags. An enormous watch was tossed on a night table. A blue Tiffany box sat there, too. Jules opened the velvet box inside. It had once held earrings, but it was empty. Maybe Oscar's got a girlfriend, she said. March poked his head out of the adjoining bathroom and held up a pump bottle. Hairspray. There's a reason his hair is perfect. Izzy chuckled as she roamed through his history on the computer. He tried to erase his browsing history, but he forgot to check his backup and hard drive. Amateur mistake. The guy's been away for 9 years. He needs to catch up. She took out a flash drive. I'm just going to copy what he's got. I need more time to dig. Jules checked the phone. We've got to find the stones. The playoff game is almost over. If you were Oscar, where would you hide them? He doesn't seem like the most imaginative guy, March said. Right, Alfie was a mastermind. They started to carefully go through the drawers, looking in socks and pockets. Nothing. His texts show up here, Izzy said. One is to a phone number, but no name. A text came in this morning. Interesting headline. Only 4 to go. The headline from the Post about the widow's knot, Jules said. And 4 to go must mean moonstones. Oscar's got a silent partner? March wondered. Did he reply? He just said, on ice. Seriously? March and Jules asked together. They looked at each other. He couldn't be that unimaginative, March said. Yeah, he could. March thought back to the contents of the freezer. I hate peas. Jules raised an eyebrow. Me too. Chapter 49. Peas and Thank You. They raced to the kitchen. March flung open the door of the freezer. He grabbed a bag of peas and emptied it out into the sink. 3 moonstones tumbled out. They picked up the reflection of the stainless steel sink and gleamed like perfect drops of moonlight. Not quite blue, not quite white, not quite silver, but iridescently beautiful. Something cool and shivery tiptoed up March's spine. Jules gave a spurt of nervous laughter. I don't know why I'm so spooked. Maybe because the stones say we're going to die in less than a week? Yeah, maybe that. March picked up the moonstones. The tips of his fingers tingled as he slipped them into his pocket. And now we have 4. 3 to go. With a brisk gesture, Jules scooped the peas back in the bag and put it in the freezer. March's phone buzzed with a text from Mickey. Oscar left the bar. Get out now. Panic shot through March. Izzy, he yelled. Gotta move. They ran back to Oscar's bedroom. Almost done, Izzy said, fingers on the flash drive. They danced their apprehension as Izzy removed the flash drive and closed the computer. The sucker is jogging home. Get out. We can't go down the elevator, March said. He'll see us. Stairs. We'll just dump us in the lobby, Izzy said. Terrace, Jules said. We can drop into the alley. Terrace? March gulped. Terrace? It's high. It's our only shot. He's at the front door. Darius is here. Where are you? Just go, Jules yelled. I'll meet you out there. March and Izzy ran through the apartment, opened the French doors, and escaped out into the open air. A fresh breeze twirled around them from the river. Everything seemed so tranquil from up here. A few pedestrians walking along, a boat chugging by. It seemed impossible that at any moment a killer would walk through the door. Jules ran onto the terrace, holding a cable and some fabric. Oscar kept the rigging. As she spoke, she looped a cable around one of the railing posts, then clicked a carabiner on. Aerial silk is really strong. It will hold us, but not 3 at one time. March, you go first. Your weight will steady it for Iz. I'm going to climb down? On a scarf? Izzy asked. March looked down over the railing. He felt his stomach drop. It's a long way down. He met her gaze, hoping her own didn't reflect his panic. He didn't have to tell her. He saw the same fear that mirrored in her eyes. The dream. Falling. It's not a cliff, she said, and we don't have a choice. His phone buzzed. On elevator. You are out of time. Chapter 50. A Long Way Down. Jules' voice rattled with urgency. Wrap the fabric around one ankle, put one foot over the other like this, and just lower yourself down. Go as quickly as you can. I'll be last. Oh, wait. One more thing. Hold out your hands. March held out his hands, palm up. She took the hairspray from Oscar's bathroom out of her pocket and sprayed his hands. Old-timer's trick when you don't have rosin or chalk. It'll help with your grip. He grabbed what felt like extremely flimsy fabric and lowered himself over. The fabric swung and slammed him into the building. Pure, screaming adrenaline rushed through him. The stone of the wall scraped his cheek. Like the dream. Gently, Jules snapped. Hurry! Even while wondering how gently and hurry could coexist, he twisted the material around one ankle, put one foot over the other, and started to slide down. He tried not to look at the brick alley below, tried not to think of his father falling, of the ground rushing up at you just before you hit it. He was glad Jules had sprayed his sweaty palms. It helped him keep a grip. He felt the pull as Izzy swung onto the material, Jules steadying her until she was just ready to slide down. Izzy clung so hard that she couldn't move. Jules gave a quick, startled glance over her shoulders, as if she'd heard something. She looked down at March and mouthed, He must be in the apartment now. They had run out of time. Panic pushed out fear. March slid down the rest of the way, jumped the last few feet, and landed hard. He felt the shock in his shin bones. He reached up to steady the fabric as Jules swung herself on. Izzy was halfway down. Oscar ran out on the terrace. He placed his hands on the railing and looked down. His face was twisted in fury as he let out a strangled curse, a howl of pure rage. Come on, Izzy, March urged. Hurry! Oscar disappeared for a moment. Do a drop, March called out to Jules. I can't, not while Izzy's on the silk. Izzy returned. He was carrying a knife. Long way down, he called to Jules, who managed to saw away at the material. March locked eyes with a terrified Izzy. He stood, reaching up, but she was still about 8 feet above him. He would have to catch her. He didn't know if he could. You've got to let go, he called. He planted his feet wide apart and braced himself. Suddenly, Darius stepped up behind him. I've got this, he told March. He held his arms. Jump! Izzy jumped. Darius caught her, staggering only a bit. Desperately, March looked up at Jules. As soon as Izzy was safe, she wrapped her legs around the silk, twisted her body, and dived. She dropped 4 feet. Half of the silk tore, and she dropped another foot. She righted herself, twisting her body again. Oscar now held the silk in both his hands. He began to haul her up. How high do you want to drop from, Jules? He taunted. The motion of the silk caused her to swing crazily. Jules used the motion to kick off from the building. The momentum of the swing sent her forward toward the wall of the other building. March gasped as she let go of the silk, flew midair, and grabbed the end of a fire escape with one hand. The other hand snatched at air. She's going to fall! March ran underneath the fire escape. She was 3 stories above him. He couldn't catch her. He would watch, helpless, as she fell. His brain roared, No! Izzy gasped, her fist in her mouth. Please, 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 please. He looked up at Jules, swinging by one hand. Hang on, hang on. Jules' face was contorted with effort. Slowly, she swung by one hand. The other one reached out, shaking with the effort. Like the hand in my dream, shaking. And suddenly, he felt the moonstones in his secret pocket, as if they had weight and heat, and it was as though they were willing her to fall. As if they both had walked into the prophecy and tempted it. No! March shouted. Hang on! And her hand slapped against the railing of the fire escape. She grabbed it. For a moment, her cheek pressed against the metal, and she took a breath. "Now!" March yelled. In a series of movements that flowed like swiftly running water, Jules hoisted herself onto the fire escape. She ran down, around, and around, grabbed the final ladder, released the mechanism, and the ladder clanged down. She scrambled down and jumped the last few feet. "You won't get away with this!" Oscar screamed. He turned and ran off the terrace. "He's coming for us," March said, reaching for Jules' hand. Chapter 51. Blue Subaru. Oscar charged out of the building, and Mickey hit the gas. She screamed onto the West Side Highway and gunned the engine. "Nobody back there," she said after a minute. March removed his face from the car seat where he had buried it. Jules straightened up from where her face was pressed to her knees. Izzy gripped Darius's hand. "Close." March managed to get out the word. He could still see Oscar's face twisted in hate. "Gotta say, when I saw Oscar on the terrace and you all on that rope thing, I got a case of the nerves," Mickey said, "but you pulled it out. Now relax." Relaxing was out of the question. They opted to breathe. Mickey drove at exactly 9 miles above the speed limit because they don't ticket you at 9 miles above the speed limit. She constantly checked her mirrors. "He didn't bother to try to follow us," she said. "Everything didn't go right, but you got away, you got your loot, so we're good." "Everybody calm down," she said, even though nobody was talking. Mickey checked the rear view again. She frowned. "I think I saw that blue Subaru back on the block." As the light turned yellow, she sped up and ran through the red. "Lost him." Her shoulders relaxed. "That can't be Oscar," Darius said. "He didn't have time to get into his car." "Don't be telling me who is tailing and who is not. I'm the wheelman." Mickey turned the wheel hard, and with a squeal of tires, they turned onto 40th Street. She gunned the engine, and they zoomed down the street. At 6 blocks, she cruised. Finally, she was satisfied. "I'll drop you guys at 56th and 8th. That way I can make a left on 57th and get back up to the Bronx. I don't want to get caught in Columbus Circle." "Roast chicken on Sunday, remember?" Darius asked. Mickey drummed the wheel. "Listen, Dee, while you're pulling the job, I got a call. There's a job in Florida." Darius went still. "But you got out. I only saw you once." "I know, baby, but I gotta take it." "What happened to Robin Hood's arrow?" Mickey's face creased in annoyance. "So Robin Hood's a crook. He's got a crooked arrow. I can't turn this down. It's big money." "Never heard that before," Darius said. "Watch your mouth. I'm still your mama." Mickey swerved and braked at the bus stop. She twisted in her seat. "You still my baby?" Darius had the remote look on his face that March had come to know. "Yeah." They scrambled out of the car. Mickey peeled off with a honk and a wave. Izzy slipped her hand into Darius's pocket and leaned against him. "My dad made better chicken anyway," Darius said. "Used to be a chef in Paris." "Of course he was," Izzy said. Just then, a car swerved over 3 lanes of traffic and pulled up in the crosswalk, blocking them. It was a blue Subaru.